What I'm most known for is helping people improve communication and understanding how men and women can get along better. Okay, so that's my goal. And we really need that in the world. So I really focus on that. I've written books on health. I've written books on ADD. I've written books on dating. And those are all there. But really, it comes to the fundamental understanding that men and women are different in a positive way. And why that's so important is there's always been this trend of denying that simple truth. This denial of the truth only makes people a little crazy. And we really want to just, realize the emperor has no clothes when people think that all gender differences are socially engineered, because they're not. We're biologically different and we're socially engineered. There's no question about that.
Welcome back to another edition of Mentoring TV, usually from crisis to creation. But today I thought, whatever anybody is involved in is always a relationship. Men, women, women, men, all sorts of constellations. So I thought I need to reach out to one of my biggest heroes, biggest influencers, not in terms of influencer, kind of a blogger, but somebody that fundamentally changed how I understood myself as a woman and men and women and their interaction or understanding or misunderstanding. And I'm sure you've not only heard, but also read Dr. John Gray's book, published over 25 years ago, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. Dr. John, great to have you on the show. Welcome.
I'm so happy to be with you and happy to know that you've read my earlier books. That's good. And I see.
I was one of those people that went around going, you've got to read this book. You've got to read this book. I was giving it to my parents because I actually got it. I said, listen, why don't you just, maybe you stop fighting. Fantastic. I think your book fundamentally changed my understanding of how much we are actually slaves of our hormones. But we'll talk about that a little later on. First of all, quickly, I will not introduce Dr. John Gray to you, his CVs. He's got a fantastic website. He's known anyway, so let's not waste time on it. But let me just first of all show you his latest book, which is called Beyond Mars and Venus, which is basically the evolution, the sequel of Mars and Venus. And let me kick you off with this following question. Why did you feel that more than a quarter of a century on, John, you had to kind of revisit the subject and write this book?
Well, I've written over 20 books along the way, but the main book I talk about is Beyond Mars and Venus, because what I'm most known for is helping people improve communication and understanding how men and women can get along better. Okay, so that's my goal. And we really need that in the world. So I really focus on that. I've written books on health. I've written books on ADD. I've written books on dating. And those are all there. But really, it comes to the fundamental understanding that men and women are different in a positive way. And why that's so important is there's always been this trend of denying that simple truth. This denial of the truth only makes people a little crazy. And we really want to just, realize the emperor has no clothes when people think that all gender differences are socially engineered, because they're not. We're biologically different and we're socially engineered. There's no question about that. And while some people are trying to socially engineer us to look at we're the same, I'm helping to social engineer a culture that embraces men and women as different, viva la differences, and also embraces that a man can have very feminine qualities and also be a man. A woman can have very masculine qualities when we define those, and also be a woman. But what happens, as I do it a little bit in spiritual terms, as a spirit, I'm both masculine and feminine. But part of my role here is to integrate the spirit into my body, which means, first of all, honor my body, which is masculine, and then integrate the feminine into that. And so what we're seeing today, I think the world is more spiritual than ever before. People are more enlightened, they're more creative, they're more fluid. That means we have access to both our masculine and feminine sides. But the challenge is if as a man, I go too far to my female side, let me define that for people. The female side of us is a part of us that feels love and happiness and joy. when you're having recreation, when you're doing what you like, that's the female side of us. And I say that because it produces female hormones. That's biology. We have female hormones, we have male hormones. How do we define female male hormones? Simply put, when a woman has happiness, her female hormones are about 10 to 20 times higher than a man's. And when a man has happiness, his testosterone, his male hormone, primary testosterone hormone, is 10 to 20 times higher than a woman. So it's just simple logic. If I'm unhappy, and this is what we know to be the case, we can look at this biologically. You can't really look at someone biologically and say you're unhappy, but you can look at the biology of somebody and say they're producing chronic stress hormones. So when people are experiencing chronic stress hormones, as a general rule, not gender specific, there's anxiety, there's depression, there's irritation, there's chronic anger, there's feelings of disappointment, there's lack of motivation, there's feeling inability to feel love. So we know those are the symptoms of unhappiness, we'll put it that way. But biologically, what that means is you're putting chronic stress hormones into your biology. What I think affects my biology, what my biology is producing affects what I think. Because if I'm thinking I'm in danger all the time, that's going to produce cortisol. But once I'm making cortisol, that will keep my mind going into I'm in danger all the time. And it's a feedback loop that doesn't stop. And what we have is a world of people in chronic stress states. And what then we look at, again, we step back, we use simple logic. When you see a man in a chronic stress state, biologically, his male hormones are too low and his female hormones are too high. Meaning a man who is in well-being, not producing chronic stress hormones, his testosterone will generally be about 10 times higher than a woman's. Now, in that range, he can have all kinds of levels of estrogen, the female hormone, but his testosterone needs to be at least 10, 20 times higher than a woman. Then he can have high estrogen. For example, my testosterone is actually 50% higher than when I was a young man, probably 20 times higher than any average woman. Now, but my estrogen is that of a happy woman. I have both.
That means that you are not stressed. So the cortisol is
not stressed, right? No cortisol.
Testosterone.
That's right. Particularly when it comes to cortisol, a man, if he has low testosterone, he's producing stress hormones. It could be if he has low testosterone and high female hormones, he has addiction. A female side of us, besides the part of us that feels love and happiness and creativity and intuition, we all have it, right? But when we don't, if you're a man and you don't have your male hormones along with that, then being on your female side means addiction. It means irritability. It means passive. It means procrastination. All the worst qualities of masculine actually come up when he's in a fight or flight state to various degrees. And that is high estrogen, low testosterone. Now, high estrogen, low testosterone would be great for a woman. See, we're like complement opposites. It's like when women are stressed, their testosterone levels are higher than normal. They're not as high as a man's, but they're higher than a woman's normal testosterone levels. And her estrogen tends to be low. Okay, so there's a time for a woman to have high testosterone, and it tends to be about 4 or 5 days after her period. There's a natural surge of testosterone and estrogen. But then for the next 5 days, her estrogen levels double. Okay, once they double, then for a short period of time, her testosterone levels come back, and that creates a desire for sex. Then after ovulation, then progesterone is the dominant hormone for a woman. And she still needs to be making estrogen, but not as much. And she needs to be making progesterone. If she doesn't make enough progesterone, then she will feel depressed and anxious and overwhelmed. If she's not making enough estrogen in her life, she'll be depressed and anxious and overwhelmed. So what we look at is try to look at this psychologically, because if we can look at our mind, we can say, okay, how can we help balance our hormones when we're stressed? For a woman, it would be a different answer than for a man. For a woman, it's to do those things that she loves to do, where she is dependent on someone else for support. Whenever you're depending on someone for support, Any relationship, you go to a doctor and you're a woman, your estrogen levels will start to rise. The more you need the doctor, the higher estrogen levels will go. If you are learning a new skill and you have a teacher, depending on a teacher to teach you of something value for you, it's going to raise your estrogen. That's for a man or for a woman. That doesn't matter. It's just that women need more estrogen. If you're looking at cosmetics, because you want to feel loved and supported, then if you feel lovable, you'll get more love and support. So you feel I can trust other people to be there for me. So cosmetics, I depend on my cosmetics to stay looking more young and more beautiful. I depend on my fashion. So you see, these industries are much bigger for women naturally because they're going to stimulate estrogen. Eating, for example, not that as a man, I can't enjoy eating. I love to eat, but women basically love to eat. When you're overeating, it's usually because you're seeking estrogen. So a stressed woman will often overeat. Now, stressed man can overeat too, because he's too far on his female side. Remember, everything you say could be has a different viewpoint when you define a man versus a woman. And we look at this because of the hormones are biological, and it gives us great insight into what we can do to lower stress in our lives that allows us to feel more love, more happiness, and that's our female side, and more motivation and more confidence. That's our male side. Right. So we want to have both. And that's my message today. But what happens is if we don't clearly define our male and female side, according to whether you're a woman or a man requires, when he's stressed, he needs to shift gears away from his estrogen side and go back to his male side. Because estrogen for a man makes him more dependent. Too much estrogen, too dependent. And that's what all addictions are. I depend on my beer. I depend on my drugs. I depend on overeating. I depend on arguing. I depend on playing, having fun rather than getting up and working. Work is our male side. Work is sacrifice our happiness temporarily to achieve a goal. For example, just writing out your goals for the day will produce more male hormones. And basically, in doing things that you have to do to achieve a goal, that's a noble goal, that gets a reward, that's acknowledged by society. Like a soldier going into battle, he's sacrificing himself for the well-being of others, a noble quality. But when I get up every day, part of me says, I have a very strong female side. Oh, I don't have to work. I can just stay in bed and relax. I can just watch
exactly.
TV.
But I think this is so interesting. And if I just can recap, the entire question of stress, is basically the basics of what your message is. This is a more complex world. We are becoming stressed. Men tend to have more and more female tendencies or Venus tendencies, i.e. their testosterone in certain situations, or maybe due to the complex world and the stress situation is going down. So they're leaning more and more towards the female side. And with women, as roles have changed, as the woman becomes more independent, which on one hand is great freedom, on the other hand is a different kind of stress, because all of a sudden she has to stand her man, or be more manly at work, for example. And then at home, the whole thing kind of goes haywires because both are stressed in a different way, because based on their biology, there's a different hormonal effect. And hence, they also need different systems to come down from their stress and actually really find their male base or their female base to then perhaps work it out again as a couple. Do I recap that?
Right? Oh, beautifully. You even went further than I went. And thank you for moving me along here, because I can stay a long time on any part of this. I've written lots of books on it. So, but what you pointed out is that moving on, when we recognize there's this biological difference, it affects our stress. And we know that, hey, there's things we can say and do in relationship that are the most powerful things to balance our hormones. The most powerful things happen through loving relationships. If you're all on your own, if you're a woman all on your own, you tend to automatically not get a lot of estrogen. You got to work harder to get your estrogen, so to speak. If you're in a relationship, it's very easy if you have the skills to raise your estrogen. But you first have to be aware, this is something I need to do. Now, to stand back again, when a woman is more on her male side, than her natural balance with her female side. If she's neglecting her female side while she's on her male side, we'll just put it that way, neglecting her female side, it's hard to get back to your female side. It doesn't feel natural to come back to your female side. Just like if I'm a man and I'm too far on my dependent side, I'm depending on this drug to make me happy, my alcohol to make me happy. And I'm not saying you can't depend, it's just too much, right? So if I'm out of balance too much, it doesn't feel natural to stop eating ice cream. For me, it's not drugs, it's just ice cream. Okay. I love ice cream.
That's the point. Absolutely. And I love ice cream too. I was just like such a sucker for it. But I mean, that is exactly the point. John, I wonder, are we actually aware? I mean, do we really see ourselves like, oh, I'm moving too much on my male side. Oh, I'm on my female side because I have three ice creams. And all of a sudden my shape as a man is not, this kind of shape, but more your shape. I wonder how much there is a consciousness about that they have actually moved away from who they were born to be by biology.
I'd say there's zero consciousness today. Okay. We used to have a culture that pushed men over to their male side, and you'd be ashamed if you were not working. Okay. The only people, historically, the most dysfunctional people were either men who were very poorly paid, okay, or out of work, or men who were paid for doing nothing. And that was the males of rich fathers.
Bread of shame.
They were playboys. They couldn't make a commitment. They couldn't sustain passion with a partner. They get addicted to drugs and alcohol and mistreatment of other people, basically because they didn't earn it. You see, when you sacrifice to achieve a goal, and I'm not saying sacrifice like, oh, poor me. I'm saying, no, I'm noble in that my daughter needs, my baby's crying. I pick her up and I hold her in my arms in the middle of the night and I don't complain about it. So there's a very masculine quality about
facilitate, absolutely, to be there, to protect, to nurture in a different way, to nurture really kind of the male way. Mm-hmm.
That's right. There's a masculine way to do things. It produces male hormones. And there's a feminine way to do things that produces more feminine hormones. So there's a lot of paradoxes. Once we become aware, you said, are people aware of this? I said, no, this is really a new knowledge. And it emerged onto the planet due to science and necessity. Science has proven to us the biological differences between men and women. Necessity is that we have evolved to another level of consciousness. Now, Dr. Maslow talked about this in the 50s of the last century, where he explained there's a hierarchy of needs. Mm-hmm. And when your lower needs are met, like if I'm hungry, I need safety, security, I need food, I need have a job. When your lower needs are met, higher needs come into play, which are just as important as breathing oxygen. Okay. And that higher need, I would summarize, simply put, our emotional needs. We become emotional beings. We've always been emotional beings, but our neediness for emotional fulfillment is different. So it turns out that if you love, we all want love. See, love is this really significant thing, more so than in the past. It's an emotional need. But love has many flavors. Since we talked about ice cream, we know we all, not all, but we love ice cream, both you and I at least. And the point I want to underline again, I love ice cream. And to stop eating so much ice cream doesn't feel natural to me. Okay, this is the thing. Everybody goes, well, this is how I feel. Well, many of your feelings take you in the wrong direction. Just because you feel something doesn't mean it's a good thing to do. Mm-hmm. And usually when you're out of balance, you feel like going further out of balance. Even if you don't like it, I'm going to keep going over there. As opposed to coming back into balance takes an act of willpower and skill. So you have to okay, all right, I'm out of balance. I need to know how to get back to my side. If I'm a man, for example, practical things here. If I'm angry and I talk, estrogen goes higher and higher. If I'm angry at someone and I'm expressing anger or a tone of voice which is anger in order to get someone to listen to me or to agree with me. As soon as most people don't realize this, but anger is estrogen going up. Fear is estrogen going up. It's fight or flight. When you're in fight or flight, estrogen is going up. People think of anger as masculine. Well, it is. Men will tend to get angry when they're on their female side. You see, otherwise we're cool, calm, and collected. We're confident. Anger is not masculine. Anger is a man being on his female side or a woman being on her female side. Either one.
Absolutely. And that was such a revelation. And please, John, correct me if I'm wrong. I read this fantastic study that actually, who is the more aggressive out of, us? Is it the men or is it the women? And it turns out it is the women because of the estrogen, because they need to defend their kids. So they are ones that are ready to basically the lion mother. Something that
there's different kinds of aggression. Again, we have to look at different kinds of aggression. There's a kind of aggression that women will have because it's emotional and it's protective. It's her being on her male side when she has a lot of estrogen. See, if a woman is afraid, that's her female side. You're in touch with an emotion of fear. So if there's nobody there to support you at that time, then what do? You pull the sword yourself, and now you become the man to protect yourself. So what that aggression would be is a woman leaving her female side when it's very strong, stimulated on that, and going over to her male side, which is, again, what we see is that when women are in a stress state, fight or flight, or fake and fold and freeze. There's a few other F's in there that we've expanded out. Mm-hmm. Women do have a greater tendency to fake and fold, but then they will go over to fight eventually. Men have an issue of fighting or faking or fold or fighting or running away, or they'll pretend. Okay, that's faking. Or they'll fold. They'll just give in. Or they freeze, which is they don't do anything. We all have these F's, but women will tend to start out on one side, men will start on the other. And as I say over and over, when your male side doesn't work as a man, you're going to go to your female side. And for a woman, when your female side is not working, you'll go to your male side. So when a woman feels, I can't trust a man to be there for me, then naturally she's going to go to her male side. It's an automatic thing. And it's not going to feel comfortable to come back to her female side and say, I'm going to depend on others more in my life.
Which makes the loop even worse, if I may interject. Yes. Yeah. I mean, it's exactly that instead of going, okay, there's nobody there for me, so I have to ask for more support or help. She goes like, okay, I'll do it myself.
I'll do it myself. Instead of, and you said the magic words, if you're on your female side and you're not getting the support you need, you do need to go to your male side, but go to your male side not to disqualify your female side, but to say, I need help. How can I get it? Let me learn new strategies to get the new kind of help that I need in order to experience the new kind of fulfillment that I need, which is emotional fulfillment. Because it's the lack of emotional fulfillment today that's causing most of our fight or flight reaction. There aren't any the dangers we invent in our mind now. And those are invented in our mind when we're not feeling emotionally fulfilled inside. And here's another dynamic, which I love, right? It comes right from the original book, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, when I talk about the flavors of love, our different love needs. Now, if you look at a human being, if I'm a human being and I need more testosterone, how can you love me to produce more testosterone? You can clap when I speak and talk. Okay. I bring men up on the stage and have them run around like athletes and have everybody clap for them. You can see they come alive. They feel fantastic. And everybody clapping feels really great too. The clapping is the female side appreciating the male side on the stage doing some service, some entertainment for the people. So whenever you're being appreciated, testosterone goes up. Whenever you're forgiven, testosterone goes up, which means not a big deal. I'm okay. I'm not being disapproved of. I'm not being rejected, but I'm being accepted.
You're still my hero.
Yeah, exactly. You're still my hero, even though you forgot to call me and dinner got cold. Okay?
I could actually kill you.
I still love you. I still accept you. I'm not rejecting you. So when you accept someone, testosterone goes up. Why does it go up? Because you get the message, I can still be seen as successful. Whenever we're seen as successful in making a positive difference in the world, and we're being acknowledged for that, testosterone goes up. So what form of love tells you that you're making a difference in the world? Appreciation, acceptance, which is, hey, you tracked mud into the house, but it's no big deal because you built the house, right? So it's learning to minimize things that bother you because you love someone. So that's acceptance. And the third form, which I emphasize, is trust, that you can depend on someone for something. And whenever you look at the whole world has got male statues up there. Why? Because it builds the male ego so that they will go into battle and do things for you. Traditionally, men have done the dirty, dangerous, difficult jobs outside the home. And so they needed to be fed. And women wisely said, well, let's build a statue to you. You're our hero. You know, and it's what you feel too, when someone will do something for you that you can't do for yourself. And now let's add that today. It's not necessarily him doing something you can't do for yourself, doing something that you don't want to do for.
But that's super crucial. That is super crucial, you see. And I'm so happy that we are at this point, John, because I think a lot has shifted. And this is why this world is so complex. And I just think that with the role of the woman in society having changed dramatically, you know, even before you wrote the book, the fundamental book, Mars and Venus, is that basically women have, become liberated, moved into male kind of jobs like lawyers rather than only caretakers, and have become emotionally more independent, financially more independent. And even in society, it was more and more accepted that a woman does her own thing, is looking after herself, and is a strong woman. Now, I am not a feminist. I always say it. I'm feminine. And I say that outright. And I get a lot of dirty looks from other females going, how can you say that? Stabbing in the back. But I just think, equality is not equal. And I think a lot got lost in translation. And I actually blame a lot of women not handling that freedom in a smart way together with men, that makes this whole world more stressed and relationships not work. And I explain let me interrupt for one moment. I just want to, some people might have missed, when you said equality is not equality, I think what you meant to say is equality is not equal.
In another way of saying it, I've worked this out, is equality doesn't mean sameness.
Okay, nice.
Yes. We don't have to be the same to be treated with equal respect. But however, let me finish for a moment.
Yeah.
Those love needs to strengthen the male side, things that earn appreciation and acceptance and trust. You build it. What does the female side need?
Yes.
So what does it need? How do you produce estrogen? What behaviors? If my wife needs more estrogen, she's been working all day making mostly testosterone. She comes home. How can I help her generate more estrogen in her body? Well, I have the 3 basic love needs. There's more, but the basic ones is demonstrate through my actions and my intentions and my words that I care, that she's a priority. It could be empathy. It could be caring something for her, offering to do something for her, seeing her when I come into the room. She's important to me when she's talking, that I'm not thinking about something else. See, listening to her. These are messages say, I care. You're a priority. You're important. I care more about you than anybody else. I care more about you than even our children, although they might need certain things, but you're the priority. I come home and hug my kids. I learned, wait a second, who's most important here? Completely changed everything. And I come home and I say, where's your mom? First thing they see is I give a hug to mom. I come and I prioritize her. And men don't realize the subtleties of this. Doesn't take a lot of effort. What I just described, some men might be going, oh my God, that's too much. Okay, why is she so needy? No, there's simple systems that you communicate to her effectively that you care. First. Second, how can you care if you don't understand? That's called listening, getting to know what her experience is, what her feelings are, why she experiences what she goes through. It's understanding what her needs are. How can he know what a woman needs today? See, historically, what women needed was money, security, survival. So yeah, we all knew that. Culture taught us women need this. Men, if you want to get married, you've got to have a job. If you want to have sex, you've got to have a job. You've got to make commitments, show her you care, demonstrate caring. Society told us this, but see, society hasn't told us yet what men have to do in relationships with women. We have to understand you can't really care that much if you don't know what's most important to them, because you don't have their same experiences. Yeah. So caring, understanding, and that happens a lot through communication and listening. And the third is respect. Yeah. How can you respect someone if you don't understand their sensitivities, their needs? And how can you respect them if you don't prioritize them? Because respect is all about understanding needs and prioritizing and caring. Then you demonstrate respect. And I differ from so many books that do attempt to try to understand how men and women are different. You know, people walk away, they read a book on gender differences, and they always say to me, they say, yes. And I learned that if you just respect a man, you know, he'll love you so much. I said, well, respect everybody, but women require 10 times more respect. When I respect you, I honor you, your estrogen goes up. If you respect a man, we deserve it too, but just know estrogen goes up. So who gets the most respect in Europe, for example, are the royalties. They still like the queen says something, and but look at the dysfunction in the royalty families. It's always been dysfunctional. The countries it's just families. Well, all the wars are just parents, family members fighting each other. So dysfunctional because they get so much respect. They didn't earn it. You know, God gave it to me, so I don't have to earn it. That makes people dysfunctional. And it doesn't mean they're all dysfunctional and so forth. But the bottom line is women particularly give respect very easily because they will assume if I give it, I will get it. The problem is, I'll get it. Absolutely. It's what women need most of all. And what do we do traditionally when in historical societies? Why did men go out and do the dirty jobs? Why did men go out and do the dangerous jobs? Why do men risk their lives? Out of respect for the woman and what she brings into the world, which is life, which is creativity. And now primarily what she brings into the world is love and joy and happiness. And as a happily married man, 34 years, after 1 year of being a happy, successful guy, 1 year, I said to my wife, I said, honey, you know, I didn't even know I was living in a life of black and white, and I didn't even know it. Now I have so much color. There's so much more dimension to life. This is what women can bring, which is love, joy, happiness, creativity, intuition, goodness. This is feminine, and women have a male side. It's not just that. And men have a female side. We're not just doers and solvers and fixers and whatever, but biologically, if there's a problem in front of me and I can solve it, it produces testosterone. And if I can't solve it, then what happens is I stop making testosterone and my estrogen levels will start to go higher and I'll feel frustration. And then I start to feel anger or start to feel fear. And now I'm over on my female side. So because I can't solve.
Yes,
I feel weak. Mm-hmm. So what men do, another Mars Venus thing, which is cliche idea from Mars Venus, is I go to my cave. You see, at the end of the day, I can't solve all the problems of the day. So I have a mechanism that is wired into men, not so much into women, which is I can forget it. I can temporarily forget it.
The nothing box.
Say that again.
The nothing box, something
that's the nothing box. It's a file. Look through my files. It's a nothing file. You say to a man, and Harvard did a study on this even, brain activity of a man and woman after the day's work. And they said to the women, you know, relax. And the brain activity sped up. And then you ask her what's she thinking.
And men were flatlining. It's like, okay.
And men are flatlining. And you say to a man, what are you thinking? He says nothing. Okay.
It's true.
No, but this is now, not all men are this way. This is why what was confusing about Men Are From Mars is as men move more to their female side, they're also thinking and they're also wanting to talk. And then they get with a woman. She goes, I don't want to listen to him. It's really, See, biologically, when you're listening to someone, okay, what am I doing? I'm penetrating into them. I'm going into them. I'm going out of myself into them. That's the masculine energy, is penetration. The feminine energy is receiving and receiving. And we talked about the hormones, and I know you've got a lot of tabs on my book. There's so much to say about it. But since I went into that cycle of progesterone and estrogen, and testosterone, 3 very, very significant hormones for women, they should know. Estrogen is in situations where you're depending on something and it's making you happy. I have a need and I have a way to get what I need. It's a dominant force as I'm in relationship with others to receive something. The progesterone is more produced. You have to have some estrogen along with progesterone to be well-being. But progesterone is not so much you're depending on someone, but you're more doing what you want to do. Okay, so whenever you're doing what you want to do, you're making more progesterone in a non-stressed state. If you're in a stress state where there's danger, your progesterone will turn into testosterone. And this is another thing that's happening for women is they much depression and unhappiness in women is called estrogen dominance. And you think, well, if estrogen's so good, what is this about? No, in one part of your cycle, when estrogen doesn't need to be so high, your progesterone has to be higher. So it's actually progesterone deficiency, which is causing it's not the problem with too much estrogen. The problem is not enough progesterone is what I'm saying. And why do you not have enough and why you don't have enough progesterone is when you're not doing what you want to do.
Yeah, and
that's the dynamic.
That is the dynamics, and I think it is so key, John, what you are saying, exactly that. And I have to say, and I would like to move on to some questions from my community too, very targeted questions, which actually are very much around the women in the workplace or the women in a man's world. But I think what you are saying is, I have so many strong female friends without men. And I have been one of them myself, in the sense that I was always independent, did my own thing. I knew what to do and how to do it. Nobody could tell me. And I went around castrating my wonderful men. I didn't give them the chance to be my heroes, because I'd say like, oh yeah, let's just do romance. You don't have to look after me. You don't have to care for me, because I thought it was a weakness as me in a person, because I was raised that way. And then, thanks to your book as well, I understood, hey, there is actually the strength of being feminine.
Oh, beautiful.
And that I make my man strong by giving him the opportunity to be strong, asking him for help, telling him I totally appreciate what he did, telling him it's not a big deal. Okay, you could have done better, but you know what? I know you will next time. That trust. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But that was a total pivot. And still I have friends that just go around snip, 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 castrating. And they say, well, why don't I find a man? Well, because you are one.
I'm right with you. Absolutely. It's not, sometimes when I'm talking, I have clients, and I say to a woman, now tell me, she wants to be in a relationship. And I go, well, why do you really want to be in a relationship? Did you need a man? Oh, no, I don't need a man.
That's the point. Exactly. Okay, I don't need you anyway. Bye. I'm like, okay, fine. Bye.
Need does not have to be needy. Okay. You can still need someone. How do you know you're needing someone as opposed to needy? Needy is when you're not happy with somebody. They're not giving you what you want. Okay. But needing, how do you feel needing is when you're feeling appreciation, when you're feeling happy, when you feel love. I remember my own awakening, which was I felt so much love when I was homeless at one point in my life, and a friend gave me $50. Now, this is 45 years ago, but that was $50 was like $500 or even $1,000 to a homeless person, meant a huge amount. A friend of mine, and I just felt so much love. I felt so much appreciation. Even to this day, he's my best friend. Okay. And I was my friend before, but that really anchored it in. When you need support and somebody's there for you, kabang, you produce a lot of estrogen. And so it's getting in touch with what we need. And it doesn't have to be you're homeless to feel what I need. It's becoming aware of kind of like vitamins. What vitamins am I missing? And for women, particularly when your daily activity is more on your independent side, then you want to find balance. And balance is finding a strategy to produce more estrogen. That strategy could be having a coach. It could be having a therapist where you get to talk to somebody and it's safe. It turns out that talking about what you feel and what your emotions are, and always coming back to positive emotions is a big part of this. Talking about what you feel produces a lot of estrogen. One of the problems with some therapists, which I would say is a lot, but I don't know all therapists, is therapy is kind of like a pity party. Okay. And pity parties, women get together and just pity me, and the other, well, I got worse problem. That will produce estrogen, but right afterwards, you're now feeling hopeless and you go back to your male side. So it's kind of like a man who doesn't have love in his life. He becomes addicted to sex because sex gives him a glimpse of feeling love. Because
bit of dopamine
there's a lot of science with that one. But simply put, it's having sex is like I'm just eating ice cream. I love it. I love the sex, but I'm not loving a person.
The oxytocin is generated differently.
The oxytocin, the estrogen, all these things, too much dopamine gets produced. It becomes addictive. There's so much I have to say all about how we completely misunderstand sex. But I will say one thing. If you're lucky enough to have a partner in your life, you have the opportunity to really elevate your consciousness to your more spiritual level, which is to realize sex is for animals, but sex is pleasurable to make us make babies. But pleasure is one of the easiest ways to get in touch with what you feel, your positive feelings. So through sex, you can feel the love you have for your partner. And during sex, you do things, express things that express your love for your partner. So it becomes a doorway to feel more love, which is why we often call it making love. It allows us to, we're all the time wearing clothes, we're putting on makeup, we're having to be somebody other than just revealing who we are. Pure openness. So if you can have a relationship with a naked mind with your partner, with a naked heart, where you can share your dreams, your feelings, your emotions, are positive, you're negative, and you have good communication skills to be able to do that. Not that people can do that, but you can learn to do this. Then you get naked physically. And it's just the most pleasurable experience, which then allows you to feel the love that's in your heart. It's like we have a potential to have so much love. And particularly for men, this is the number one way. For women, they have many ways to feel love. In no situation can they experience the high levels of estrogen that making love can produce. We know that biologically. Biologically, when you're with a man and you're making love and you rise up, your estrogen levels will go to their peak levels. And that can get higher and higher over time. It doesn't have to go down over time. Just like testosterone in men, when you know how to make love, for example, for me, I've been teaching this since I was since the 70s. Okay, so I've been teaching this a long time. The reason I teach so much about relationship is so people can finally make love. Okay, that's the high thing. Yeah. But when you can make love, for a man, as you get older, your testosterone goes up, and for a woman, their estrogen doesn't go up, but the balance of estrogen, progesterone, and all that is finding the ideal for them as they age, and they can continue to make love. Just because you've lost your ovaries, you're not going to make as much estrogen. That's okay, as long as you're not suppressing your estrogen. You have always enough to make love. And so biologically, for me, I get my testosterone tested. I'm 50% higher than when I was a young man, which demonstrates in my activities and my lifestyle and so forth. And none of my male friends have that. They're all jealous of me.
That's exactly the point, the lifestyle and the consciousness about it as well. And that you have your techniques, how if you are a little bit more on the feminine side, that how to kind of rebalance yourself, which then opens the door to that lovemaking that, it really is.
Yes. Lovemaking is the ultimate act of balancing your hormones, but you have to start out somewhat in balance, going in the right direction.
That's my point. John. We have,
like when a man is horny, he's actually too far on his female side, and he needs to find a woman and bring her back to her female side, and his horniness goes away, which allows him to truly make love. So he's not just having this sexual release on his own part. Even how much sex you have in the beginning stages, couples have a lot of sex in the beginning, then they lose interest in sex. And what happened? Well, let's analyze what happened. We have research now showing that when a man ejaculates, and then 6 days later, if he doesn't ejaculate for 6 days, on the 7th day, his testosterone increases 50%. If he has sex twice that week, it never increases. It just stays at baseline pretty much the whole life as it slowly goes down. So there's a discipline of learning how to make love sometimes without ejaculating. Until you master it, I teach these skills, how to make love all the time, every day or every other day, with never ejaculating. And according to old traditions, when men could do this, they would live longer, healthier lives. And we know now that it correlates with testosterone for a man. As men retire, that's one of the major causes of heart attacks. That's the insurance companies will say that is within 3 years, you have your first stent or you have a heart attack because you're no longer making the testosterone of having to go to work every day. That's so important for men having a job, not looking to your wife to feel good about yourself, looking to your work to feel good about yourself, and then making love to her or providing for her the caring, the understanding, the respect that she deserves, making a difference in this special person's life. That makes you not just happy, but happier. And that's my theme. Now that we're a more evolved race, our job in relationship is not to make each other happy. That's our own job. But now what do we do in relationship is we make each other happier. We take it to a higher level. And certainly we can use our relationships so that we can find the happiness within ourselves. But that's taking responsibility for it. So there's not complaining to your partner, but instead using your partner And practically speaking, what that means is like in communication, instead of going, gee, my partner never talks to me, say, okay, good. He didn't talk to you. You need to talk and express what you feel. That's going to produce estrogen in you. That's also going to create a connection from him to you. So you have to learn how to talk in a way that gets his attention, because many women will start talking and he's just not interested. That's because the way you're talking doesn't stimulate testosterone in him. So there's an art to this, and it's a big art, but we have to know. People don't know what they're missing until they start experiencing what they're missing. And that's
exactly. And the base is always how and what we do, what we think, and then how we speak and communicate really generates the hormones, which at the end of the day is driving us. And that is what one has to, in every kind of basic communication, be it private or even in a work relationship, has to keep in mind. And I think what you just said, John, is so beautiful, is I think a lot of people that watch this will say, excuse me, when a man is horny, he's actually on his female side. You got to be kidding. People would go like, no, he's the stud. He wants to basically have women 10 times a day or, all year long. No, that is one thing. I think a lot of people will kind of go, okay, let me go back to this part of the conversation or to your book. And the second part is this rubber band that you talk about, which
so important.
Yes, so important. That was also such an eye-opener for me, where women, when a man was with them, all of a sudden just go away and go to their cave, and they think, oh my God, he just exploited me, just to kind of like use and then throw away. No.
Yes.
It's part of the process. This is part of being together.
But when you understand hormones, I wrote in Men Are From Mars. I didn't understand hormones then. We didn't have this knowledge. But I explained that men will get close. And once they're really close, see, they have a need to connect with their female side. They're horny. They want to connect with their female side. They're going to their female side. So they're going into her, literally, sex. And so he goes into her. Now his need to be on his female side is fulfilled. He needs to come back and balance it with his male side. So he needs to pull away. He's now withdrawing. And you don't want to get close to him at that time because he's trying to get away from connection to detachment. We have these words which are actually revered, which is detachment. Buddha would talk about detachment, not to be upset about things. It's no big deal. Everything's okay. That's all important. The other side of that is attachment, love, connection, having both those things together. So men will go to their male side. They want to get in there. And once they do their job, so to speak, made her happy, now you got to come back and rebuild testosterone. But see, I didn't know that then. I just explained a pattern I observed. Men get close. If a woman's happy, not that she's unhappy, it's that she's happy, then his need has been fulfilled. Just like you had a delicious meal, you're done eating. You make love, you go to sleep. But particularly for men, after making love, this is where it was most obvious, is there's this tendency in a guy, while you're there, you want to hold her, be with her forever. And then suddenly you have this need to sort of pull back. It's all biological. There's nothing to
and women
explain.
Take it the wrong way.
Yes.
They take it the wrong way. But even physically, if you think about it, this withdrawal needs to happen to then reestablish. You exhaust.
He has to come back to himself.
Yes.
It's like coming back to me so I can become one with you and then come back to me. And it's a beautiful mechanism, because when women are really unhappy in relationships, it's because they're making the man too important. You see, they're connecting. Oh, I want this. It's like a delicious meal. I can't stop eating and I can't stop eating it. Where did he go? No, that's the perfect thing to have her. Oh, it's when you're feeling you need more from him. That's the time you need to look at other areas of your life that produce those hormones and make you feel fulfilled, never to make one man everything. And because that's not healthy. And for him, he makes her everything. He gives up, he becomes one with her, he pulls away. So here's the idea, make of it like a rubber band. If he stretches far enough away, he'll spring back. Now, if he pulls away and you run after him again and again and again, he never gets to that stretch. And sometimes that's the description of a marriage, a woman running after a man, going into his cave all the time. He's digging holes to get away from her, as opposed to just come back and find your fulfillment elsewhere, not always looking to him. And now he has this space and he can spring back. Now, that's how I described it in Men Are From Mars. Now it's so simple. When a man connects with a woman, his estrogen's going up. We can see it biologically. That's what an orgasm is for a man, is a surge of estrogen in his body. And when he ejaculates, it's because the estrogen is much higher than his testosterone. And so it creates a tension, an imbalance. So the tension gets released as an ejaculation. Now, basically, he pulls back and the testosterone has a chance to build up until he wants to spring back. And so the situation here is you can have an argument with him, which also produces estrogen in him. He'll pull away. Or you can spend a wonderful vacation with him and you're spending time together. It's just so luscious and wonderful. And she's thinking, we've gotten to a new level. And the next day, he's just off to work and he's ignoring her. It's kind of like, I really had a great meal and now I'm done. I'm ready to go out there, go back to work. And it doesn't understand the biology. So much estrogen, he needs to back off from estrogen production and rebuild testosterone. And that's the same dynamic of men at the end of a day. If it's a stressful day, he needs time to just do nothing, not think anything, some entertainment. And some entertainment's good for you, some entertainment's not. Okay. So what you do in the cave can be productive or not productive. Like if I just go online and do porn will temporarily boost testosterone in a man and it drops way down afterwards because you're depending on that to make you happy. And then you have to withdraw more. So there's a dynamic of men going to their cave. It can also be unproductive. You can go to his cave by taking drugs, and that's certainly going to be unhelpful. What she can do to get him out of the cave, what she does that pushes him the cave, when he needs to go into the cave. These are all like a new knowledge. It's a new language. And I'm very excited, Patricia. It's just this week that we launched our worldwide course on understanding men. It's at my website, marsvenus.com. And it's all about understanding men in their cave. When he's too long, how do you get him out? If he's not getting enough, what are the signs? How to get him in? What you can do? It's like so I worked on this. It's not a book. It's a course I worked on with my daughter, Lauren. And so she presents it, but by a script that we wrote together with exercises, with fact sheets, with illustrations. It's a 4-week course. I recommend everybody do it. It's amazing. We're so proud of it. So that's at marsvenus.com.
That sounds really, really important because I think it's one of the most misunderstood concepts between men and women.
Yes, connection and detachment. Connection and
attachment, and that one goes with the other. But if you think about it, it's such a no-brainer. It's, if you have insomnia, you will crack down. It's the same thing. If you didn't have the chance after a hard-working day to go to sleep, to rebuild your hormones ritually during the night, you will not be able to function the next day. Why should a man work any different?
Yes.
So he's there. And then, there was a saying, if you chase a man, there's one part of the sentence missing. You chase a man away.
Yeah, that's beautifully said. You brilliantly said it. If you're chasing a man, you're chasing him away forever. And so it's like learning to come back and take responsibility for your happiness to produce the right put it in hormones terms, produce the right hormones without depending on a man. That's our other number one course at the website, which is, it's called How to Get Your Me Time, which means when he's not available, what do you do to raise your hormones and find your balance? And that's amazing class. It's a 6-week class, but I suggest everybody, we've evolved in our messaging and it's such a well-made course for people. It's called Understanding Men. And that's at marsvenus.com. If you go over to the Academy, you can see that there. It's amazing.
I will put it also under our talk, John. It is so fundamental because, as you were saying in this book as well, our world has become so complex. But has it really? Because you can always boil it down to what has not really changed or evolved so much, which is our biology, how we react physiologically, as our digestive tract is not adapted to whatever food is being produced by food producers. Okay, that has not changed in millions of years, and this is why we are becoming physically physiologically sick more and more, and as a society we are becoming sick, and as in the dynamics how to interact, men and women equally so. And this is why I think your work is so fundamental, John. And I hope this is only the first of our conversations, because
I love it, because you had other questions from people online.
Yeah, if you have time, I'd love to, but I don't know how you talk. Do we have a couple?
Let's do another 10 minutes, and then we can do some
all right. Let's do another 10 minutes. I thank you so much for this, because I know you are very tight on your time. Okay, so what I did, I reached out to my audience, John, to my community, and on LinkedIn. And a lot of them, of course, it's a business community. And there were important questions about women in a man's world and their position and the kind of difficulties or not, the glass ceiling or not they see. And one of the questions I thought was very interesting is, what do you think about females at the moment that have important leadership positions in the world, like Ursula von der Leyen being the president of the EU Commission? We have Sanna Marin, she is the Finnish Prime Minister, Christine Lagarde, the head of the ECB, and of course Kamala Harris as vice president in the US. Are these women or are these women men? Where are they? Are they actually bringing that feminine, let's say, talent to our society?
Well, they are women without a doubt. And what I want to say, just basically, I think it's a great idea. I think it's a great thing. And I think it's great that women are running the world more together with men. And the harmony between what a woman decides in harmony with men will mean that she's in harmony with her female side. The female side is what can harmonize with men. And or on the male side, the tendency of blame, and all of these people tend to get into the victim consciousness. There's another way to communicate from victim consciousness. When you're in victim consciousness, basically you're on your male side expressing the plight of your female side, as opposed to when you're on your female side, the feelings are greater empathy, greater compassion, less blame. So you're on a more loving side. Love is embracing what is. Okay. Love is seeing the good in what is. I was just counseling a woman today, and she says, in my marriage, I'm the one who starts everything. I'm the starter. I'm the doer. And I said, well, first of all, let's celebrate that you're a starter and you're a doer. You can do that. That's your role. You've been doing it your whole life. Let's embrace that. And now let's add to it that your female side would like more support, and then strategies of how to get that support. I think the whole world, whether it be male leaders or female leaders, are all out of balance. Okay. And we're going in the wrong direction of victimness rather than appreciation of what is and how we can make it better. Whenever we focus too much on negative emotions, backing up our blame of others, we're going in the wrong direction. And it doesn't actually work. We all know, particularly I'll say it from a male point of view and a female point of view. When you resist a man, he becomes more resistant. He doesn't change. And this is what's happening globally, which is this push against men is not doing good for men. And then the acknowledgement of victimness on our planet right now, it only creates more resistance from the oppressor, so to speak, and from the male side of us. It's a chemistry. We can see it in our own personal lives. Let me give you an example. For example, a simple thing. You have to bring this down to simple man-woman interaction, and we all have a male and female side. And I say this. So a complaint my wife had, I don't turn out the lights in the living room. I walk through the house and I tend to leave the lights on. And in the beginning, it's a no big deal, because it is a no big deal, right? And then eventually when he doesn't respond to, John, you forgot to do it. John, you forgot to do it. A little thing in our mind becomes a big thing. In her mind, it goes into, well, if he doesn't do that, then he doesn't love me and I'll never get what I really want. So, the mind does this. So now you're in a stress state about it. Okay, so we're in a stress state. Nothing we say or do will produce positive results. It just, in the long run, it doesn't produce positive results. So she figured this out, because this went on for years, until she'd be putting her hands on her hips and staring at me. You forgot again. You forgot again. How can you forget? It's such a little thing. You can't even do that. Nag. Right. So, and it's not like, I would say, I hear you. Okay, I'll try. I just would forget. That's what it was. Some kind of unconscious resistance to doing it. And also, I tend to not really do a lot of little things. I tend to be more messy on the scale, and that's just who I am. My wife loves me, and she's very organized and neat, and I need that in my life. So a nice balance there. Mm-hmm. But we have to be able to grow together, and me become a little more neat, and her become a little more relaxed about my lack of neatness. So you have a balance there. So one day she looked, here's the solution I was getting to. So we set the stage. She pokes her head into the kitchen while I'm making a sandwich. Big smile on her face. John, I've noticed that you've been turning out the light lately in the living room. And I just want to remind you how much I love it. I appreciate it so much. And sometimes you forget. And then she walked out of the room. That was it. Actually, at the tone of voice, and sometimes you forget, it's not a big deal, and then walked out of the room. It was the tone of voice, which wasn't escalating. You see, it's not an escalating tone of voice. It's more reasonable. It's more caring. It's more friendly. It's more sensitive. She did that 3 times, and
all of a sudden you had it. But that comes back to what you said earlier: appreciate, accept, and trust. So she appreciated that you did it. She accepted that sometimes you forget, and she trusts you that you're going to get better and eventually perfect.
That's exactly right. And also she was trusting that it's not a big deal. And even if you didn't change, it doesn't mean you don't love me. You see, her survival is not going to be at stake, the fact that I don't leave the light on. And I even solved the problem in that I got green energy. So we can burn lights all the time. But she said, we need to be an example for the world. Okay. And I said, okay, I respect that. I'll try to, and I don't want to fight with my wife. But what we have is I'm giving a disapproval, complaining, nagging, all that sort of, that's escalating. And then me arguing back. It's not just a one-sided thing. It's a woman will complain about something and a man will argue back. See, and I used to argue back. I stopped that. And I realized, as a tip for men, never works. And also arguing back, it's only going to your female side. Okay. You're getting frustrated. We're frustrated, then you're getting angry, then you're getting rigid, all that you're going over to your female side. You've lost this sort of unbounded, cool, calm, collected guy who's got his arms around his wife, who'll take care of her. You know, you want to be a martial artist here, which is not attack, but you do have to defend. But with a woman, the way you defend best is give them what they need, and there's no problem. Yeah. And this is what we do in our culture. Is we make things bigger than they are, more emergency, more media-wise. We're addicted to emergency. The news is always the news, the impact, the danger, alert, all these
dopamine kicks. We like that. The stimulus, like with our devices.
Basically, we're addicted to the stress response. Yes. Okay. We're addicted to the stress response produces dopamine, just like you're taking cocaine. And then we have to keep finding reasons to be upset. Otherwise, life becomes boring for us. So there's a process of finding our balance. And the most powerful way is love between a man and a woman that I've experienced. And I know what people talk about. What do you say? Love man and a woman. I say man and a woman. But also a gay couple, they can, one's more on their female side, one's more on their male side, so they can apply it in that way. But what I see happening a lot in the world is the denormalizing of heterosexual relationship. And this is what keeps the babies making. People want to cut the babies. No, we want babies. We want to have a more efficient, productive world for everybody. But we don't want to stop relationships. But when you don't have role models of how a relationship can be so wonderful, then that's going to be a place you want to run away from. And 2, the skills that our parents had to sustain relationship, whether it was good or bad, don't work anymore. It's out of date. We have to have a new set of skills, but that new set of skills requires a deeper, more intelligent, reality-based understanding of where women come from, where men come from, and how can I best support her in finding herself in our relationship so she can go out there and be on her male side. And how can she help me come back to my male side and support my best self coming forth, which is, instead of complaining, it's asking for more. But how to ask for more? Because there is a reality. If we look at the bottom line of men and women's biology, men do not have automatic motivation. We really do require more stimulation to be motivated. And women require certain stimulation to sustain happiness and love. When we get together, women have the unrealistic expectation that he's always going to be as motivated to demonstrate his love and caring and interest in me. That will go away. That's a phenomena of newness in the relationship. And that same newness will stimulate overwhelming happiness for her, an ability to overlook mistakes, an ability to trust, the ability to appreciate more. All that comes naturally when her dopamine goes high due to the newness of the situation. That newness will go away, but these skills, mindful skills, applying, understanding gender differences, biological differences, will help us to maintain that attraction. For most couples, it was dependent upon newness. And still, I as a sex therapist, I say, go on some nice vacations together, do some new things, get some new clothes. Newness will stimulate hormones, but you can't depend on it. No, what we have to depend upon is the gender differences creates a magnetic polarity that creates attraction. And we just have to set the stage for us to feel our male and female sides. And I know a lot of this can still be very abstract because people don't know what I'm talking about. Well, how do you do that? It looks like on a bottom line level, I come home, I give my wife hugs. I wake up in the morning, I give her hugs. Why? Because hugs produce oxytocin. Oxytocin leads to higher estrogen.
And it's attention. As you were saying earlier, I see you, I hear you, I acknowledge you, I hug you.
I touch you, and I'm there for you. You know, you're a part of my life. You're not just invisible. And men don't realize that because we like to be invisible. You know, if I'm in my cave, don't notice me, don't look at me. It's not important. Not important. And this is more confusing today because when men are insecure and have low self-esteem, they go to their female side. When women are insecure emotionally, like I don't deserve to be loved, they'll go to their male side and feel like, see how good I am, see how great I am. But they go over to their vulnerable side. You see, every time you put on makeup, you're basically saying, I'm afraid you won't love me just the way I am. So please love me. That's what makeup is. It's what's going on inside. It's, you know, I put on these clothes. I teach my talks. I teach my work on a certain side is see me as successful. See me as capable. Let me make a difference in your life. You see, this is what's behind everything deep inside. Now, men will never find that until they have a woman. He can help her to find it, and then he'll feel it within himself. This is the sweetness of life, is to find the vulnerability, you know, to just bring, you know, I'm a spiritual person too. And there's a sweet thing that Jesus is known to say, whether he existed or not, doesn't matter to me. It's to enter the kingdom of heaven, be like a child. Don't become a child. Be like a child, which is have that sensitivity, that feeling of love and appreciation and awe. And
of newness. Exactly. That I'm so with you there, John. When people always say, you know, live your life as if it was the last day of your life, I kind of don't really agree. I always think, no, live your life as if it was the first day of your life. You know, all eyes and ears, and be curious. And
that's a very interesting thing. That's the same thing as when I'm saying, be like a child, be curious, be interested, be in awe. But see, we can say be that. But you can't just suddenly become that unless you're vulnerable. And it's a woman who, see, when you're becoming vulnerable, estrogen levels soar. If a man becomes vulnerable, his estrogen levels soar, his testosterone will go down. Now, if he has very strong, you know, it's like when men say, I'm very secure in my masculinity, so I can show my vulnerability. Yes, you do have to be very secure. But not only that, I have to be anchored in my masculinity. Otherwise, if I'm over there sharing vulnerability, my wife is going to go, oh my God, I've got a child I'm married to. I can't depend on him. And then she'll secretly be disgusted by needy men. And she's afraid of acknowledging that because sometimes she has needs and she doesn't want to be rejected. But it's the most beautiful thing for a man to be able to experience a woman's vulnerability. Not only can he provide something for her by steadiness and caring and respect, but also it helps him connect with his own female side. You see, this is an idea. This is not an idea I read in a book or anything. This was my experience, which I haven't seen duplicated anywhere yet. Maybe it's been out there, but I grow in my masculine and my feminine by having a partner where I can be the masculine for her and connect with her female. See, when I'm hearing her, I'm connecting, I'm relating to her. So I'm connecting with my female, just like in sex, I'm going into her, I'm connecting with her happiness.
But you're connecting to you with her. Rather than by yourself.
I don't have to go to my female side and go to therapy and get in touch with my feelings. I can just be a man, in a sense, be the therapist for my wife, and put it in that terms. I'm listening to her, I'm hearing her, I'm supporting her. So I'm on my male side. And also I'm connecting to her because I love her. So I'm on my female side. My own female side is being fulfilled by being in this very committed, very intelligently designed relationship. Because see, commitment is another thing that's underrated today. As a woman, you can immediately relate to feeling safe when you know somebody's not going to leave you.
Yeah.
It's just that, and we all get older, we get sick. We don't want partners leaving us then.
That's a trust factor. That's a trust factor.
Yes.
But that is the trust we then also create, right?
Yes, because when a woman is trusting, she's producing the most estrogen. When a man is being trusted by a woman, his testosterone levels are going the highest, but he has to earn that trust. And that's one of those traditional things. It's like we still need the lower needs. You have to earn the trust with your partner. Now, having said that, I know a lot of women go, well, he was late. I can't trust him to be on time. That's okay. Trust him to love you and give his life for you when you're in danger. Don't cut out all of trust. Just I can't trust that, but I can trust this, and I can't
you
trust
have to be selective, of course. Yeah. Absolutely. I think so too. Yeah. No. This is so spot on. And I think it's also fundamental what you said. It's one of the questions also from my community. How much does your book, Mars and Venus, or Beyond Mars and Venus, really also apply to same-sex relationship? Because we all know there's always a woman and a man in a same-sex relationship.
Well, I think the new book, which is Beyond Mars and Venus, really goes into a lot of science that most people are just not aware of, how important for a woman, the different stages of her cycle. And then when she stops cycling, what behaviors will stimulate the right hormones for her. So that's really important. As two women it's a man. For a man, the most important thing is understanding his testosterone cycle and also the importance of how he uses his sexuality. If you use sexuality without love and commitment, you become addicted to it. Mm-hmm. So a lot of gay men do have a higher vulnerability to shorter lives and sickness because they're not using I won't say all, but they're not using their sexuality to create more love in their relationship, but to create a momentary feeling of love, which is
for themselves.
Yeah, just like I love ice cream, that's not going to build my testosterone. So there's about learning how to manage your sexual energy and the same thing. But as far as relationships go, I have gay men friends. Okay. I live in the Bay Area, and they always say, well, one's more masculine, one's more feminine. And so now when your partner is being more feminine, you can be more respectful of that and give them what they're needing at that time. But I also recognize that partner who's more feminine also has a male side. Mm-hmm. And that man who's being more masculine, in terms of what we describe masculine, he needs to go to his female side. So one of my practical suggestions for them is that they consciously take time to flip their roles, constantly take time to flip their roles. Otherwise, one is just stuck over on the male side. The other one goes too far to the female side. And when a man's too far to his female side, whether he's gay or straight, he's going to be needy. He's going to be irritable. He's going to be competitive, passive, and not good things happen.
Not a good individual to be around, whatever sexual orientation.
Yeah. So basically, it applies to everybody in their own dynamic, but I don't address in my books directly gay relationships only because I'm not gay. So everything I teach, all these books that I write is my personal experience of how I'm like the student who always know thyself. I'm constantly asking questions every day. I wake up because of the questions I ask and the answers are there. And I see it with my clients. I see it in my seminars. I'm completely dedicated 50 years of my life to personal growth and how to get the most out of life in this personal area.
John, look, I'm overstretching your wonderful time already. I have so many more questions.
Oh, we'll do it again.
Let's do it again.
Besides your amazing person, I'm just imagining I'm in Switzerland. I love Switzerland so much.
Wonderful. Come over. I have you anytime. Come over. It's your second home. I know you've lived here for quite a while. And
I love Switzerland. So.
Yeah, well,
the beauty. Oh.
Honestly, let's try to reconnect because it is very, very interesting. I'm also, a woman in a leadership role, and I'm being approached also often by other females in business saying, what about the glass ceiling and, this feminism, what do you think about it? And how should we deal with men at work because they see us as women and we are not women? Like you were saying earlier on that
there's so many different, I wrote a book called Mars, Venus in the Workplace. And it's really, really good. I highly recommend any woman in the workplace to at least look at that book. It's an amazing book. The problem is it's not like it's stayed on the top of the list for a long time because the workplace doesn't want to change. Okay. It's not like companies are going to call me to come in and say how you can change it in a way which is respectful of women. Okay. So this is first of all, the most important thing is the workplace was not designed to be against women. It was designed to be primarily for women, all of the approaches and attitudes. And it's slowly changing as women are getting into places of power, as women are beginning to understand their own femininity and the power of their femininity, like a big buzzword, which is used today, which is inclusiveness. It's the big word, which I think is a little paradoxical. The people that say we want to be inclusive do not allow men and women to be different. Okay. Diversity, except between men and women. We're all the same there.
That is so true. That is
very paradoxical.
Counterfeit.
But having said that, just a tip, like if you understand a woman you're working with her, just to know if she's expressing, hold back from interrupting her. Just a simple skill, hold back from finishing her sentences, hold back from interrupting her, and take a moment to reflect a little bit of understanding of what she said. A very basic skill, communication 101, that a man doesn't realize is so important because he's not a woman. Okay. See, you can teach him that, but he's not going to do it if he thinks that we're all, hey, it's not that important. I'll shorten the conversation, get right to the point. You say to her, well, what's the point of this? Now, some women who are already on their male side don't take offense at that, but another one can feel like, well, he doesn't value my point of view. He's not appreciated. Another woman who's more on her estrogen side, she doesn't have the fast reaction of her male side. So you're in a meeting, it's like a soccer game, trying to kick the ball back and forth, who's going to win the prize and whatever. And she's a little bit, it's not her resonance. So she's standing back and waiting for somebody to ask her what she thinks. And she could be so into hearing what everybody else says that she's not into realizing what she thinks. So with my team of women that I work with, always make sure I hear from everybody. Well, what do you think about that? And what do you think about that? And it takes them sometimes a moment, if they're way on their female side, to come up with their experience, just because the speed of taking ideas, and then women will feel like men are always stealing your ideas. Well, men feel that way.
Let me just interject there, because John, that is one of the biggest complaints I
know. I hear them.
But for women, they said, I'm in the meeting, even board meetings. I'm in the meeting. I'm voicing an idea. I'm explaining it. Everybody, it falls kind of flat on the face. 5 minutes later, my idea I just expressed 5 minutes earlier, another guy repeats, or man or whatever. And all of a sudden, everybody said, oh, yeah. I'm like,
yeah.
I just said that. What happens? What is that all about? Tell me. What happens?
Men play by the rules of sports. It's fine to steal the basketball from the opponent. You're not doing something bad. And all you have to do is make a shot from there. So when he steals your idea, he does piss on it. See, there's something he'll say, even it's like, the best idea I've come up with is this. And he actually thinks in that moment, because he said it's the best idea, it's his idea now. So he has a level of confidence with it. He has a level of assertiveness with it. He's had time to reflect on that. Everybody's had time to go into there. And then somebody comes out with a sense of, I've got the best idea, or this is what I think we can do. Because sometimes when women express their idea, they're just, you said it nicely, kind of like working with the idea, you're bringing it up, but you haven't said, this is the idea, because you'd be seen as an egotist or whatever, And also, see, women have a thing where they gather information before they feel solid with it. And men feel solid right away and gather feedback to see if they have to change it. Okay, it's just a distinction. In classrooms, you'll see the teacher asks a question, the boys raise their hands right away as if they know everything. That's testosterone. It wants to say, see what I know. And often what a woman can do in defense of that, you realize he's not personally attacking you. He might not even know he stole your idea, because he's now gathered the information and pissed on it. Was what I think is this. Well, this is the right way to go. That's his. He's owned it. And then what you have to do is come back without resentment, but realizing when you're playing soccer, somebody just takes the ball, you get the ball back. So
how do you get the ball back? To say, hey, listen, I just said that.
Basically, that is such an amazing idea. I remember when I was first talking about with my assistant so-and-so, and I did this research in the garage, and they said the very same thing. And, I like your contribution to that. And I think that we should really go forward to this, and we can even do this, and it would be better. Just add another thing you said before. Just own it as yours, which is what he just did. And do it in a positive point of view, as opposed to, hey, you stole the ball from me, because you can't do that. And that's just being victim. Nobody wants to look at that.
No, absolutely. I love it.
And so many times in a meeting, women will feel like I'm not being valued and appreciated because somebody doesn't ask me questions, or like, what are you thinking? But men actually, if I'm in a group of 5 men and everybody's contributing and one guy isn't, let's say his name Bill, nobody's going to ask Bill what he thinks, because we already know he's not thinking at all. He doesn't have an answer, and we don't want to embarrass him by saying, well, Bill, you haven't said anything, dumb you. So we don't do that. But with a woman, she can have so many ideas. She's always something in there. She's got a point of view. And that's where we see diversity is really a wonderful thing. It brings in different points of view. So we want to value those different points of view. And yet we don't many women are not given that opportunity. And often they don't take the opportunity because they feel like already everybody's against me because they didn't ask me what I think. Or I said what I think and somebody stole my idea. Steal it back.
But it is so good what you're saying, that basically if you look at it as a soccer game, there are certain rules, and then you just see yourself, you don't see yourself as a woman in that, be feminine, but you're one of the players, and these are techniques to get the ball back.
But women have more power than men. The femininity is whenever you say, that is such a good idea. I've seen this again and again and again. And then you begin to gradually move into how you develop the idea, giving some evidence, when I was just sharing with someone on the elevator, and she told me this and this, and I think this is really fine. What we should do is take action about this. So but she starts with her female side. See, everybody wants to be close to happiness and positivity and love. That's her power. By feeling victimized, you lose that power, as opposed to see the good and then add to it. And she comes from her female side to see the good, and her male side to not take offense at it, to understand this is soccer. It's okay to do that. And I also have the right to take it back, and I can piss on it myself.
Exactly. Like a team player. John, you are amazing. You are amazing.
A real pleasure. I'd love to come back to Switzerland with you again.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And I hope we can do another conversation, another recording, because after
that's what I meant. Yes.
We'll it'd be wonderful to have you back. Thank you so much.
Particularly now that people have heard our conversation, they'll have questions about our conversation. And I think that will be more relevant to their lives, as opposed to sort of theoretical. People will relate and go, what about this? And why that? And how about this? And I don't feel this is me. Because that's why I wrote Beyond Mars and Venus, is so many women read Men Are From Mars and went, I feel like I'm from Mars. I said, yes, you're on your male side, but now let's figure out how to get back to your female side and stay on your male side as well. Both sides, no problem.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so I'm holding this book out here again. Fantastic. Also, marsvenus.com, the 2 new courses, John. Let's talk about those as well, how they're going, what it really is in more granular details next time you come.
Well, I think the best highly produced and wonderful courses. The new one has taken us a year to do. It's called Understanding Men. Go right to that one. And then when you see how amazing it is, you'll want to take the class. Again, women only classes. Men don't take these classes. I have one on sex for men. That's it.
Yeah. And the women in the relationships being, the surrogate teacher kind of thing.
Yeah, women have the power. If you were married, if a couple was married and they said, we have a baby, both of us can't come to one of your workshops, who should come? I say always the woman. The women have the power at home. They have the power to bring out the best in a man. That's their power. And men then, women can actually teach men, like, for example, if you want a man to listen, you say, hey, 5 minutes. I just want to tell you about my day. Please don't say anything. Don't need it. It'll make me feel good just to get it off my chest. Then he'll listen for 5 minutes. And she goes, he never listens to me because you told him it was just 5 minutes. Then add a few more things into it, which is like emotional intelligence, throw in the word frustration, throw in the word disappointment, throw in the word, I'm mad. Any of these kind of emotional words that are not directed at him will get his attention, because emotion is feminine. And now he has a way into connecting with the woman he loves so much. So it's a way of bringing out the best in men by women sharing what's inside of them. And so these are practical skills. Yeah, it's
no.
All right. I got such a pleasure. We can go on. We'll do it another time. Thank you so much. And thank you, dear Mentoring TV community, for having joined us with this fantastic Dr. John Gray. He's my guru. He'll be your guru. And you make sure you read this book and all of the other 20 books he published. John, it's been a pleasure. See you soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you.